the table first, and then on a different spot, I'll go 1, 2, 3, and A, B, C. You're going to tell me which one you hear better, okay? 1, 2, 3. A, B, C. Which is better, the letters or the numbers? Okay, in other words, were you able to hear it decently? Okay, so I'll have it down here. Okay, see. Okay, so this is good. You can hear this? Yeah? Okay, great. Here we go. Alright, so here we go. We're going to start with Shabbos. Okay, everyone's got this book with them? You guys got this book? Shmuel, did you get this book?
No, I think you told us to get the Kosher Kitchen.
Kosher Kitchen was the one for the kashers. Okay, this one for next week at the end of the lesson, I'll tell you what to order and to get it. It's very important. In the meantime, we're going to look at the pictures together. All right. All right. We're going to have a small overlap of what we started with last week, before things got messed up with the line, which is not long, so it's like 3 minutes into the thing. Basically, Shabbos is the essence of our faith. It's like the most important thing. If a person is Shomer Shabbos, then they're considered, in all aspects, Jewish. A non-Shomer Shabbos Jew, if he touches wine, he's like a goy. Okay, this is the absolute be-all or end-all of being Jewish, is Shabbos. It's a symbol between the Jews and Hashem that we as people know that He created the world, and that only He dictates how the world should be either used or not used. He created the world in 6 days and ceased from this creative activity, not work, creative activity, on the 7th day. He could have created the world in a second. He didn't need any rest. It's not physical. There's a higher spiritual reason for why we are following Shabbos. It's to emulate the quote-unquote rest in our physical world, right? We're told to do as Hashem did. He ceased from all creative activities on the 7th day. When we stop doing these creative activities on Shabbos, we're trying to emulate Hashem. This obviously does not mean that we're supposed to stop creating things from space, because we can't create things from space. So what is it that exactly that we're doing that's similar to what Hashem did when He stopped the creative activities? That is on a much higher spiritual level. It's not the main part of this course, but rather we are going to learn that we are commanded to desist from anything that resembles any of the activities that we were commanded to do for the making of the tabernacle, which from this point on we're going to call the Mishkan. Okay, what is the connection between the Mishkan and creative labor? How do we know that those activities required to create the Mishkan are those activities that Hashem commands us to desist from on Shabbos? Hold on just 1 second. Shira, if we ever get disconnected, sometimes my phone does disconnect, okay? You just call me right back, because I won't know that we're disconnected, okay? Fine. Here we are. Okay. There's a pasuk in the Torah that juxtaposes the observance of the observance of Shabbos with the building of the Mishkan. In that pasuk, we're told to be meticulously careful about constructing the Mishkan in every last detail, and yet we're told in the same pasuk, same sentence, follow the Shabbos. At first glance, these two subjects seem to be about as related as apples and oranges. Like, what is the connection, or as we say in Hebrew, ma kasher, right? I mean, there's no connection between these things. But the Talmud enlightens us as to what is the connection. We're told that although you have to be scrupulous in the details of the building of the Mishkan, but because everything done in the building of the Mishkan is prohibited on Shabbos, all of the creative activities performed in the construction of the Mishkan must be halted on Shabbos. In other words, something about what our creative activities are in this physical world have something in a small way, b'ze'er anpin, to do with the fact of Hashem's spiritual creative activities. Those, you all read Adon Olam, right? Mm-hmm. Hashem, the Torah is in Olam Ha'atzilus, the nearby world. We're in Olam Ha'asiyah, 4 barriers down in the physical world. But they're not separate. the lower worlds are byproducts of the higher spiritual world. And so when Hashem stopped creating via using his Torah in the highest world, our world, which was created from that, the activities that we do here that are called creative activities by Hashem are juxtaposed to the spiritual activities because not physical, right, that Hashem did in creating the world. So why do we start learning halacha with Shabbos? Okay, the Yehoshua and Shmuel and Yael, we all started with kasher simply because I wanted something short until we got another person in. Normally, we don't do that. We normally start with Shabbos, okay? Shabbos is the greatest distinction, as I said a few minutes ago, between the Jews and the non-Jews. The Torah tells us that Shabbos is a symbol between Hashem and the children of Israel. And this statement clearly means that since Shabbos is a symbol between Hashem and the children of Israel, then it is not a symbol between Hashem and the other nations. For if that would be the case, then why didn't the Torah just say that it's a symbol between Hashem and the world? But it doesn't say that. It's a symbol specifically between the Jews and Hashem. In fact, the Talmud explains to us that non-Jews are punishable by the death sentence if they purposely follow the Shabbos. Now, by the way, just if you would stop for the moment, okay, what does that mean exactly? For you guys, I know that Shmuel and Yael, I forgot which one of you, there's some type of a background where it's unsure whether there were Jewish people in the family or not, or, it is maybe from the Ranos or whatever, it's unclear. Anybody who is not sure whether there's Jewish background or not, they have to follow the Shabbos. But what happens if they're not Jewish? So the Beis Din deals with this way, okay? And by the way, Shira, this does not have to do with you, okay? Because even though you went through a conservative conversion is not called a conversion, okay? So technically you're not Jewish, and technically, this might be very painful, you're not allowed to follow Shabbos. But don't freak out. Here is the solution, okay? For those people who are really bothered and get the heebie-jeebies by not following Shabbos because they've either been following Judaism for so long, or their great-great-grandfather, they don't know what's going on here, right? Let's look at a technicality. Judaism, the day starts with sunset and ends with the next sunset. Okay, it's 24 hours that way. By Goyim, it's from midnight to midnight. And therefore, as far as a Goy is concerned, if he breaks Shabbos after Havdalah and goes over to the light switch and says, I'm turning this light on for the purpose of breaking Shabbos, if I'm a Goy, it works. He doesn't get the death sentence in Hashem's eyes because he's not trying to follow Shabbos, okay? A Jew, a doubtful Jew, somebody who is unclear, that is what the Beis Din says for them to do. Follow Shabbos 100% during the time that it's Shabbos for the Jews. When Shabbos is over, before you hit midnight, okay, do some malacha and say, for the sake of breaking Shabbos. If you're Jewish, you're fine. If you're a Goy, you're fine. Okay, you have fulfilled it. If you are 100% a Goy, you should be doing one malacha during Shabbos. The examples like this, I spoke about it a little bit last week, but let's make it hit home. She was not an important lady, but my grandmother was raised in Franz Josef's palace in before World War I in Austria, Hungary. Her father was a tailor. He fixed the guy's socks and stuff, okay? So she wasn't like a fancy lady, okay? But she lived in a palace. If you dare walk around in the palace and play ball in the hallway, or scream where you're not supposed to, or wear clothes that are for people on the street, off with your head. Yet, if you got the garbage man outside wearing the robes, the purple robes of the palace, they'll shoot him. Why? Because somebody who has all of the extra rules Their whole life changes. You know, you can't talk here, you can't walk there, you can't do this, you can't do that. Your whole life is based on honoring the king, right? So therefore, if that's your whole life, then you merit wearing these robes, and not only do you merit wearing the robes, you have to. And then somebody who's outside and says, the king, I talk about him as I'm drinking beer and, couldn't care less about him, I complain about him, I just don't break any, major rules like, mutiny or something like that. So, you're not allowed to wear the robes. You're the garbage man outside. Okay, so that's the exact same thing here. Not that every goy is a garbage man, I'm not saying that. the point is that, as a Jew, we got 613 commandments. If you're doing 612, then you merit getting the 613th Shabbos. If you are not, if you remember in Adon Olam, if you're not commanded, you haven't turned the reins over yet to Hashem, right? He's not the boss. You are the boss. You decide how you're going to serve Hashem. That's 7 mitzvahs of Bnei Noach. You're the boss. Hashem is the slave. You choose to be different, and Hashem is the boss on every aspect of your life. Now you get Shabbos. And you have to have Shabbos. If you plan on doing Shabbos when you're still the boss, excusez-moi. Who the heck are you? Okay, that's basically the problem, the point. Okay. All right, 1 second. Yeah, we did that. Okay. Let's look at the other side of the issue. Because it seems like, okay, well, the Jews, they got this special Shabbos. What about a Jew who doesn't follow Shabbos? A Jew who doesn't follow Shabbos, what is the punishment in the time of the Sanhedrin? Death sentence. But not just any old death sentence over here. There are 4 death sentences. The worst of all of them is skila, which means stoning, which is not like we've seen in the movies of Ben-Hur. Okay, stoning means you take the person, you tie them up so their hands and legs can't move, and you throw them off a 2-story building. They don't die. Okay, so now you get a large stone and you lay it gently on their chest, and they're supposed to suffocate slowly. This doesn't work. Now it's time for the town to start pelting the guy with stones. Okay, this is not from what you'd call the hit parade of pleasantness. Okay, why does this breaking Shabbos gets this death sentence, but murdering somebody, although it's death sentence, it's not this bad, nowhere near. It's an instantaneous death of scythe with a knife. Why is this the case? Because Shabbos is the worst. Breaking Shabbos is the worst of ever you can do. Because it's saying Hashem's not the boss of the world. I am. Okay, so now. All right. By the way, just so that you understand, in case you all think that, we should start throwing stones at people, okay, when we have a Sanhedrin, which is only when we have a Beis Hamikdash, any of you who may see things on the internet about there being a Sanhedrin today, cancel that site from your internet. It's a bunch of hoopla on a fake group of Jews who do lots of things as if they're in the age of redemption, and they're not, and you could look it up and see it and just realize it's absolutely a complete hoax. And they call these people the head rabbis of the generation, yet nobody in the Haredi world has ever heard of even one of these names. And these people are a bunch of jokers, okay? Anyway, so, in the times of the Sanhedrin, if you had somebody come up to you, 2 witnesses, say, we're kosher witnesses. We're watching the act that you're doing. If you do this act, we're going to testify against you. And that act is breaking Shabbos. And the punishment for Shabbos is the death sentence. And they then tell him which death sentence it's going to be. And then the guy says, so what? I'm going to do it anyway. Then this mental idiot gets killed by the Sanhedrin. But if any detail in that process is different. They don't explain that they're kosher witnesses. If, any small detail, they got the wrong death sentence. They don't tell him that they're going to testify against anything is different, he doesn't get the death sentence. Okay, but that doesn't mean that in the eyes of Shem, it's worse. In fact, a person who gets the death sentence, tells us in the Talmud, it's a gift, because he gets to pay for it in this world instead of in the world to come. Okay, This is just to give you a little bit of a weight of how important following Shabbos is. Okay. All right, let's now deal with the word malacha. M-E-L-A-C-H-A. Malacha. It really means not work. Work is avodah or tircha. Has nothing to do with this. Okay? Malacha means thought out, creative activity. Just 1 second. Sure, you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you now. I got it up to my ear, but generally it's on the table. So generally, your grandfather on your father's side, right? Okay, so in that situation, still you'd have to break Shabbos, because we're talking about only if it's mother. But in your situation, you've been following Shabbos for so many years, know a bit, do the thing after Havdalah, okay? Yeah, that way you're following Shabbos during Shabbos for the Jews. When after Havdalah, then light a match and say you're doing it for the sake of breaking Shabbos when Shabbos is over. Yeah, I understand. That's why I'm saying after Havdalah, do one quickie, but say I'm doing this for the purpose of breaking Shabbos if I'm a goy, right? And then that's it. But that's after Shabbos is over for you. Okay? All right. Anyway, let me get back to this. Okay? All right. So, malacha. Thought out. You know what? Just a second. Hold on. I can probably put Shira on my headphones. 1 second. Yes, I have the headphones. Technology. I have hit the 18th century. Okay. All right. 1 second. Okay. Headphones coming. Just a second, Shira. Hold it. There we go. Where there's a will, there's a way. Get this. I haven't untangled this thing in months. Okay. All right. All right. Plug it in. Get it on my ear. 1 second. We're almost untangled. Ta-da, ta-dum, bum, bum. Okay. You hear me? Gewaltig. Okay. Should I say something so I can see if I hear you? 1 second. Yeah. You sure? Can say something so I can see if I can hear what these things on.
Can you hear me?
Perfect. We're great. Okay, super. Okay. The malachas are not work, but rather it's thought out creative activity. It's 2 parts. Thought out, it means intentional, and then creative. It has to be both. Thought out and creative, and it has to be an action, not a thought. Okay? So the 39 malachas are based upon the building of the Mishkan. There are different categories within the building of the Mishkan. The first 11 of the malachas were needed for making the different colors, which would eventually be woven in to make the parochis, which is the curtain. There are 2 of these. One is the entrance to the courtyard, and then there's the next one, which is the entrance between the holy and the holy of holies. These were no standard curtains. They were approximately 15 centimeters thick string. It's an incredible act of how to make this thing. It's just drive you nuts. But okay. Ancient dyes were not bought in bottles at Kmart. Okay, there were 11 agricultural malachas that were needed to attain the dyes. First, the ground needed to be prepared. Okay, I'm gonna take this for a minute. I'm gonna show the people who are on Skype with the site. I'm gonna have open here. Okay, can you guys, I'm gonna turn the picture around so you can see what's going on. Okay. So, first, let me get this focused. The first malacha, okay, in this book, the pictures are going to show things in an ancient picture style, okay? When you have the ancient picture, okay, that means this is the base malacha. These colorful things are certain things which will happen. We're going to go over all of them in massive detail. These are things that happen in daily life today. What's the first thing is called plowing, preparing of the earth in order to get it ready to grow plants. Okay, after that was done, the next malacha, don't worry, you don't have to memorize these now. This is just giving an overview. Then once the ground is prepared, then you actually plant the thing in order to cause the plants to grow. That's the second malacha. That includes anything, watering it, trimming it, fertilizing it, anything you're doing to, keep the plant growing. You may think this only has to do with, inside a farm. It has to do even with your own home, okay? We're going to deal with what happens even in your own refrigerator that might have to do with this, okay? Okay, then after the thing is grown, we now have the next malacha, which is harvesting, detaching a plant from the ground. Now you may think that this also is only with outside. Think again, okay? We have things in your own home that are going to be happening with this thing, plenty of them, okay? We're going to be dealing with it. Okay, after it's harvested, then the dyes were gathered together. Those of you who know anything about the Israeli agricultural system, we have rain for 4 months. We got deadness for like 8, okay? What happens is your grains or seeds are gathered together and put outside. There ain't going to be a drop of rain from Pesach until Sukkot, okay? Not one drop. And then after Sukkot, you're not going to get much for a while. But anyway, you leave your stuff outside so that it becomes brittle dry, so that it'll be able to next malacha, after it's gathered together, you're then going to, at a certain point in the process, thresh it. Thresh it means that you are separating a natural product from its natural container. And you may say, well, who does this? I don't do this at home. Believe it or not, okay? Let's say you're a nursing mother. The baby can nurse from the mother, but the mother cannot express milk on Shabbos, okay? Not if she's doing it for the purpose of collecting the liquid. Okay, we'll deal with what happens if she's engorged and not feeling well. It's a different thing altogether, okay? You can't squeeze juice. You can't do anything where you're separating the product from its natural container. Once you've done threshing, you don't have to take notes on this, because we're going to get so much more detail on this. You're going to see this all so many times, it's going to be coming out of your nose, okay? Okay, after we have separated the product here, okay, right, we now have to start to purify the product, okay? We got the product out of its container. Now we do zora, winnowing, which is using the wind to separate wanted from unwanted objects, okay? It's a type of separation, a type of borer or selection, but one which is done with wind, okay? We'll deal with this. This is less common in the home. Now we deal with something which happens probably about 30 times a Shabbos, okay? Most common malacha of all of them, borer, selecting, separating desirable items from undesirable ones, okay? Until you're getting rid of the stones and the garbage, and you're leaving yourself with what's good. What's going to end up happening in this situation, I mean, you can't even clean up your house. You can't clean the toys. You can't clean this out. You can't wash your dishes in a certain way. Like a basic, how do you eat your food? Everything is affected by this malacha, which is probably, this and one of the other malachas is the most invasive of all, okay? This will change your life, okay, on Shabbos. All right, now I've selected everything, right? I have a good, decent pile of seeds that are going to make the dye. You're not done yet. You still are not yet with a completely pure product of dye. In order to do the 2 malachas ahead, which would be to sift out the minute debris that would be left, right, with a sieve, I have to first grind the product so that I can then sift it. Now you may say, but so I won't grind. We have under this so many rabbinic prohibitions, such as many things of taking medication, and even like how are you going to deal with cutting a salad, how big you can cut a salad, what can you do with making baby food. I mean, this is also a pretty invasive malacha, all right? Sifting, don't worry about it. It doesn't happen too terribly much at all, but we'll deal with it at the time. All right. Once I have now got this completely pure powder, let's say it was purple, okay? So there was purple, crimson, blue, but let's say we got the purple, okay? Just a purple powder. That's not the dye. Ancient dyes now had two more processes until it's done. You have to take the powder and make it into little cakes like cookies, okay? Little dough blocks, okay? Okay, so now the powder is mixed with the liquid, which is kneading, okay? And you may say, fine, so I won't make bread on Shabbos. I won't knead the thing. You know what this means? You can't even mix mayonnaise with tuna fish to combine particles into a thick mixture on Shabbos. Okay? We're going to go into all the details here, but when you are not allowed to combine particles with any type of a liquidy substance in order to form any type of a doughy or pasty substance, such as egg salad, tuna salad, these types of things. Okay? Once that was done, you take your little cookie-size cakes of this dye dough and you throw it into an oven. What happens then, this is the cooking thing, is that the color leaves the carbohydrate dust, goes into the liquid that was in the dough, it's released. So that now, later on, you throw that baked cookie of dye into the water when you put the material in, and the color goes directly into the clothing. Now, lest you think this is ridiculous, some places actually make the ancient dye. They are much better than many of the things that we have today. More permanent staining and everything. Okay, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's worse. It's not the issue. The issue is that's that part of the malacha. Okay, let's go down. That was the first type of malacha, right? We have 39. The first 11 are the agricultural malachas, okay? The next set of 9 malachas has to do with preparing the materials for the tapestries of the Mishkan. Okay, again, these were not, you didn't buy material at the store, right? You have to make the material from scratch, okay? So all of these are creative activities. They were either made out of wool or linen. The linen, which is agricultural, would have been taken care of by the things in the first 11 malachas. What about those that come from animal hair? So we have here the first of the next 9 in the series is shearing, detaching non-living parts from a person or animal. That includes biting your nails, biting your lips, pulling out a hair, any of these things. Can't do it. Oh, but it itches. Tough noogies, okay? No removing anything from your own body by pulling it, okay? Now, after that's done, you think, you may all have heard the song Mary had, a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. Garbage, okay? You ever gone over to a sheep? I did, okay? There's more dirt in the fur than there is fur, okay? So the next thing is you take this disgusting mass of oily, sweaty fur, okay, and you need to free the materials from unwanted dirt, stains, and dust. Ignore, when you will buy this book, the word bleaching. Rather, it's a modern Hebrew translation, it's wrong. Okay, it means actually whitening via the cleaning process. Okay, basically laundering. Okay, once this is done, I now have clean fibers. Okay, well, it's a knotted mess. Anybody ever dyed anything before? You think you're going to take this knotted mess and you're going to be able to get the dye to stick? Wrong, buddy. You have to now take this thing and comb it, which means untangling, it'll get focused in a minute, okay, untangling clumps of raw material into separate strands so that it will be able to, next malacha, dye, reinforce the color. Only once I have this cleaned, combed stuff, okay, can I do this. By the way, under dyeing goes putting on makeup, okay, and many other things. We're not just talking about dyeing clothing here. All of these malachas at first may seem to you like, well, I don't do that. Think again. In your life, you will find there are so many. 1 second. Yes.
Rabbi Mendel says he has 2 pairs of your tefillin just got sold today. They were sitting in the store, so he wants one for a bar mitzvah in about a month, maybe a little bit more. The bar mitzvah's in 6 months, but if you can send it in a month, that's great. And another 2 just to have whenever you have them. Is that
Baruch Hashem, that's great. Even
should I call him and say yes?
Call him and say yes. Tell him I'll call him later. And
I told him you'll call him later, so you call him at your convenience.
Okay, fine.
That's what he's interested in.
Okay, fine. Bye.
And give bracha for his 3 daughters.
Okay. All right. It's been a little crazy here, guys. Shira knows, but I'll just tell you what's been going on this week. My oldest son just got engaged last night.
Mazel tov.
So, Baruch Hashem, amen, amen. So, we've been crazy, and I'm not calling anybody back. You're the first class I've had. It may have been official last night, but it's been a little crazy for about a week. Okay, so, once we've done that, okay, we now have colored strings. That's not material. Now we have, and we're not going to even go over these now. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 malachas involved with making strings and then doing the weaving process. Most of the weaving process things don't affect us at all, have nothing to do with our daily life. Making the strings does, because if you'll notice, if you ever have something on your jacket or dress where a string comes out and it's a little bit frayed, and you just twist it with your fingers to make it, kind of like look nice and neat, it's a problem, Diraisa. Okay, Torah prohibition. Okay, that was those 9 malachas. So we have the first 11, which are agricultural. The next ones, which have to do something with detaching from animals and making some type of a material. Okay. Now, the next 11 malachas we're about ready to go to have to do with preparing skins for the fur of the Mishkan. Let's stop for a minute for those of you who have a book, and let's take a picture of the Mishkan and take a look at what are we talking about. Sorry, Shira, you got to get the book. Okay, so either you got to get a camera or you got to get a book, one or the other. Okay, so here we go. So is one of these curtains here, the first 11 malachas just for the dyes. Okay, the next 9 malachas for the materials here and the materials here. By the way, the first 11 malachas on agricultural also prepare these, because this is made out of linen, not out of wool, which is grown somewhat like cotton. Many of the other malachas that are involved in this and this and this are also involved in certain ways in some of these things. For example, the beams are wood and they're cut down and the whole thing. But the main aspect was, let's group it. Okay, that doesn't mean that some of the malachas from here can't be related to other things. They are. The coverings of the Mishkan are the black stuff, the fur thing, but we'll deal with that later. Okay, this is skins. Now let's just take a look for a minute at this. This rainbow-like skin. This is not colored. And let's not deal with modern Hebrew, okay? Eliezer ben Yehuda was not a religious man, and he created words in the Hebrew language and gave definitions. He didn't know what the heck he was talking about in many things, okay? Rashi tells us that the tachash, the animal that we know that these skins come from, is not what is translated today as being walrus. This is an animal that Rashi tells us was created by Hashem at the time the world was created, only for the purpose of the Mishkan. There were enough of them to be used for the Mishkan. They were caught, and as we say, ain't going to be no more, ain't going to be no more, completely extinct at that point. Every single one of them was used for this. There never was another one. Okay? They were a water animal which had a rainbow skin. Absolutely rainbow-colored skin. Okay? Which was in fur. Okay? There is nothing like this today, and no one has seen this for 3,500 years. Okay? Okay. Are you going to shoot this thing with arrows? We don't exactly have any extra, do we? So how are we going to get this animal without damaging something that we don't have a dot of extra? That's where these malachas start. Okay? The next 11, is it? 1 second. Yeah, next 11 malachas are the preparations of the skin. Okay. First, we trap these guys. We are not shooting them. Okay? We are not putting any arrows at this. We can't afford to wreck the skin. So we have to make knots. Any type of knots. Now, we're going to now stop for a moment
and ignore where we are and look at a certain aspect of the malachas. There's a type of malacha which is a malacha and its opposite, which means I have tying knots and untying. Well, why would they be opposite malachas? They sound opposite, but what's the point? If I am untying because there's a hole created in the net, and any of you who know anything about real net making, it works almost like a spring. The animal kind of gets itself caught. It's not just like a piece of material that you throw over it. If you just kind of like sew up one little hole, no big deal. But if there's a major rip, you have to unweave it, and then retie it, and then reweave the net. Otherwise, your net is not going to work. So if you are untying for the purpose of retying, then it's a dioraisa malacha. If you're not untying for the purpose of retying, it's not an opposite malacha. And it's not a dioraisa prohibition. It's not a Torah prohibition. It would be prohibited, probably, in most cases, rabbinically, but would not be a dioraisa, would not be a Torah prohibition, unless it was a creative act. How is untying creative? Untying in order to retie. That's why it becomes creative. We also have sewing. We'll get back to the order in a minute, but we have sewing and unsewing, tearing. Right. If I'm tearing for the purpose, it's not a dioraisa, because it's not for a constructive, creative act. But if I'm tearing in order to sew something back together the proper way, yep, that would be a dioraisa. That would be a total prohibition. We now have other, I'm skipping these for a minute just to get you to the malachas and their opposite. Writing and erasing. Quickly, we'll go over it in the Mishkan. They wrote certain things and then they had to erase them to rewrite them. Okay, if you're erasing in order to rewrite, it's dioraisa. If I'm erasing simply because I don't want them to see what I wrote, d'Rabbanan, because it's not actually the malacha, it's not a creative act, it's only destructive. Then we have building and demolishing. What's demolishing? How is demolishing creative? Well, when Hashem says, take the Mishkan down because we're going to move it and you're going to rebuild it tomorrow. I can't rebuild it tomorrow because I can't carry the thing on my back whole. So I'm taking it apart in order to rebuild it. That's called a creative act. But if I'm demolishing something just because I love to see buildings crumbling, well, that's d'Rabbanan. Then we have kindling a fire and extinguishing a fire. If I'm extinguishing in order to create soot, to make black, to make ink, it's creative. But if I'm putting the fire out simply because I don't want it to burn something down, it's only d'Rabbanan. Okay, now, let's go back now. That was a detour of the issue of malachas and their opposites, okay, which are both malachas. Let's deal now with the net thing. I have to make the nets, and sometimes nets get problems, I have to fix them. That's so tying and untying. We're going to skip the next two malachas. It's not that the book is incorrect. It's going according to the order of the Mishnah, which is a memory tool. Tying and untying and sewing and unsewing are very similar. So it's a memory tool so that we remember the group of four. Because remember, the Mishnah was written and published orally, not printed, for many hundreds of years. But that's not the only reason. Sometimes you might think these are the same thing, tying and sewing. Only when you see two things together do you then understand what's the difference between these two. And when does something fit into this? Untying and ripping. When does it fit here? When does it fit here? That's why it's put here. But in the order of building the Mishkan, these two things of tying and untying don't belong here. So we're going to presently ignore it, and we're going to come back in about 5 minutes. Okay? So we tie the knots to make the net, and then we untied when we have to fix the net. Now we use the net. Okay? We trap the critter. Okay? Which means you may say, well, I don't do that. I'm living on the 24th floor in Manhattan, right? What the heck am I trapping something? What about that bee under the cup? Okay, you ever did that? Or what about your dog? You just bought a new dog. it doesn't yet like staying in your house. It doesn't know your house, your neighbor's house, and you're keeping it in the house to protect it. Maybe protecting it, but you're trapping it when you shut the door. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons that religious Jews who are not living on the farm usually don't have dogs. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but it is an added difficulty. Okay, now we got it. Okay, we caught it. We have that rainbow-colored beast. Okay. We got it dead now. Okay. You may say, well, you're killing it in order to use its skin, or to use its meat, right? If I kill a fly, it's also a prohibition. But am I eating the fly or using its beautiful skin to make a fur coat? No. So then that means that I didn't really do the malacha for a creative purpose. It's only a destructive purpose. That might be a wonderful destructive purpose of getting rid of flies, I agree with you, but it's not d'oraisa. It's only d'rabbanan. It's not. Cannot be a Torah prohibition if it doesn't fit exactly the definition of what was done in the base in the Mishkan. Okay. Now you may say, what does it matter? It's still asur. We'll get to it. It's still asur. Correct. Still prohibited. But we have to go on. We'll get to it. Now I got the animal dead. Great. Now what do? I have to skin it. Okay. You have to get the skin off. Okay. Not much. This particular thing doesn't happen much in your daily life. Next. Okay, so now once I have the skin, instead of calling it skin, let's call it a raw material that could go bad. I have to preserve it. Any type of tanning or preservation. Second, come on, okay. Anything which will preserve anything that is a raw material. Whether it be in foods, any types of marinating, or whether it be polishing something to keep it in good shape. Any of these types of things that are done, such as just shining your shoes, not changing color, just shining it. Or even if you have your shoe and you just rub it against the back of your pants, to rub in the oils or whatever it is. Buddy, you just did Mr. d'oraisa. Okay? Next. Okay? Now, I got this skin. It's done. It's preserved. Okay, but it's really rough. It's still got the hair on it and, bumps. Okay, it's time to smooth it out. Okay, I'm rubbing an object to reduce roughness and form a shape, not just in skin. How about your bar soap?
Yeah.
How about, getting mud off your shoes, playing with clay? Okay, any of these things can be a problem. Okay. And now, fine. Now I have a nice, smooth piece of leather. Okay, you guys saw the picture of the Mishkan. Mm-hmm. Different stripes of the different rainbow colors. Very exact. You're not going to fake it. You're not taking a scissor and saying, gee, let's wing it. If I make a mistake, big deal. Hashem will recreate the world again, right? No. You got to mark it and cut along the exact lines. See these things here? Remember back in the Mishkan? Okay. Oh, where is it? 1 second. There you go. There's. Remember the exact lined up thing there? So focus. Stupid thing. Focus. Come on, thing. There you go. Okay, this is. You don't do something which is going to be like 50 meters long in a straight line without making the slightest need for adjustment, unless you have it marked. So you mark it so that you're going to be able to then the next malacha cut to shape, altering the size or shape of an object for a functional use. Under this goes any type of cutting, and by the way, along this goes ripping toilet paper, taking a paper towel roll, okay? Taking a plastic bag because your garbage bag's got too full, and now you got to take another bag off the roll. Sorry, okay? Can't do it, okay? So all these things go under cutting to shape. Now, I promise you, we go back, right? I now have strips. Now we go back. I sew the strips together. You're sewing something 50 meters long. You ever make a mistake? You're not God, right? This is fur. You ever seen fur have one little spot not sewn together? All of a sudden, it doesn't look straight anymore. You can notice it from like across the street. They have to undo the entire seam, get to that spot, and then redo the whole seam from that spot. You can't fix it where it is. So you have to unsew in order to fix something and come back. Okay? That's those two malachas over there. Now we skip ahead. Okay? That was the preparations of the skins. And as we promised, okay, we're going to now go on to the next set of malachas here. All right, we have now done that. Now we have to deal with the beams of the Mishkan. Let's take a look for a minute. Sorry, Shira, that you can't see this. Use your imagination. Okay, here we go. The beams of the Mishkan. 1 second. Okay, these are gold beams. They are wood planted by Yaakov Avinu 210 years, 210 years before the Jews left Egypt. He knew by prophecy, because Yaakov was a prophet, he knew that they were going to need these, and he planted the exact amount needed for the courtyard and for these. These had to be covered with gold, not like you guys think. Not thin paper gold. Thick, like my finger, covering of gold. Shiny, like a mirror. Pounded on. Okay, the pounding, the last handle, that's the last malacha, okay, which is second to last malacha. Where is it? Yes, the final hammer blow, right? Okay, pounding the stuff on. But let's deal for a minute with writing. Imagine that you have liquid ink, because the only thing called DO, ink, is liquid stuff. I got it over here. I use it every day when I'm writing. Here. It's liquid. Okay? It's, you need, if you see this for a minute, look very carefully at the picture. 1 second, it has to focus. You have a series of tens of beams on one side, and then a few on the other side, and then some on the other side. There was a miracle. This ring over here that is on every single beam holds a dowel, like a broomstick. But it's a miraculous piece of wood. It says that the people could never have built the Mishkan without Hashem helping them. Every time the Mishkan was either built or taken down, it was an open miracle. Why? It was one piece of wood, not attached by hinges. One piece of wood that went down and then turned without cracking, and then turned without cracking, and then held the whole thing together by going through these little nodules. Now you may say, well, if it happens by a miracle, so the whole thing's a miracle. Wrong. Talmud tells us that they had to make it possible for it to go through, which means they've got tens of these beams and these rings. It has to go through, and that means I can't be off by a millimeter. I can't be off by 1 millimeter, or it won't go through. The fact that it'll turn, that's the miracle. But you got to make these things exact. That means if I take a beam from the back end and mix it up and put it in the front end, buddy, I'm going to be slightly off. So the first and the second and the third and the fourth and the 25th beam, they all had to be in the exact position. I had to know which side, which number beam. Where are you going to write this? On the gold, on the internal surfaces of these beams that touch each other. You're writing on a mirror of gold with liquid ink. Have fun. Okay, and now when it dries, okay, and you put these, okay, go look at this picture here of the caravan. Okay, Shira, you still there? You hear me? Okay, fine. So now, you know, Hashem says, take the Mishkan down, take the beams, load them up on this, okay? It's not wood, okay? They put it here in this way so you know what it is, okay? So they load them up on the caravan. Now you're going through the desert, and these beams are going, and this thing's going through the desert, right? And the beams are, you know, shaking and, you know, moving against each other. What do you think is going to happen to the thing that says side 1 beam 25? it's going to get a little bit rubbed. So that when they take them off, it's still enough legible that they know what it is. But before they put this thing together, they erase what's there, rewrite it, let it dry, and then they put the thing back together. So that the next time they're going to know exactly where it is. So let's go back to where we are. We now have two malachas. Writing, which is creating any type of a meaningful image, whether it's drawing, even if it's temporary, which would only be Rabbanan if I'm going to blow into the window and say, I love Melissa, okay? It's going to be, it's temporary, it's right, still usher. Embroidering an object so you can see and understand what it is, usher, can't do it, okay? But now, I also have to erase. If I'm erasing to clean the surface so that I can rewrite, it's also d'oraisa. It's a prohibition d'oraisa. But if I'm ripping through my ice cream thing, my popsicle thing, which says yum yum, I cannot rip through any label that has any type of a picture or word on it. It's in others I have to have the package open before Shabbos, or be careful to not go through the letters. That includes, hold on to your hats and your tichels, okay? That includes not ripping through barcodes, QR codes, and any other code on there, which even though I can't read it, it's not a language. Excusez-moi. Do you know how much information is in a QR code? Mm-hmm. Some books could be written on what's in some QR codes. Much more than says yum yum on your wrapper. The fact that I don't know Chinese does not mean it's not a language. Okay? The fact that I'm too stupid to understand the barcode does not mean that it's not a language. Okay? And no, you cannot rip through them. Okay. Now, next malachas. Okay, we're now dealing with the building of the Mishkan. So we put it together. Building does not just mean constructing a home. The word boneh means anything that takes haphazard things and puts them together in a structured form, such as braiding hair. I'm taking hair that's like all over the place and I'm putting it into an ordered form. That is what in the Holy Tongue, in Lashon HaKodesh, boneh does not mean construction. It means the putting together of separate things and making them into a structured form. Anything that does that, okay? Destruction is anything opposite of that. Okay, so now, once that's done, okay, that's the building of the Mishkan. But now, I need to make that ink. I have to light that fire. The fire is also used for cooking and many other things. Okay, kindling of the fire is done in many things, but I'm kindling the fire here in order to put the fire out at a specific time. Then I'm going to get black ash, so that the black ash can be added to certain oils, which are going to become the ink. But in this goes electricity. And by the way, just so you should know, when you push one button on your cell phone, you have done 5 malachas. What? Right. You built the circuit. Beforehand, you've got 2 separate electric rods. By pushing the button, it makes another electric rod lie between the 2 of them. That's called boneh, or building a circuit. Even in English, it's called building. In Hebrew, it's also called building, right? And then, when you lift your finger off the button, you demolish the circuit. You then kindled or transferred fire by the electricity going through the circuit, and when you let go, you stop that flow, which is extinguishing. You then also have to realize that any time you're dealing with building, if it is the final act of building, such as if the phone sits there on my counter and I don't push any of the buttons, it's a useless item. It only works when I do the final thing called making the circuit. So if the last act of construction is what makes the whole thing work in the first place, it's also the last malacha called the final hammer blow, the thing that makes it all work. So anytime I'm turning any light switch or anything, I just did 5 malachas with one flick of the finger. Now, this is the actual last malacha, but it's dealt with, it's a whole category on its own. It's the only malacha that gets 2 whole pages. It's the concept of passing from one domain to another. When was this done? Okay, let's go back to the Mishkan. Okay, here's our caravan with our beams. You want to build a Mishkan. Well, you going to build it on the caravan? No. I'm taking it from this private thing that has nothing to do with owning it. We could have everybody in America have 1/2 a penny in this of owning this caravan. That's still called private domain because I can't have 600,000 people walk through the caravan. Okay, it's called a covered structured thing. It's a private thing, private by structure, not private by ownership. Okay, so I'm going from here into the street, and from the street into again another enclosed area. So whether I am going from the home to the outside, or from the outside to inside, either one of these is this malacha. I can't so much as go outside my house into the corridor of the building and lock my door, because the key that I'm taking from my home, which is private, into the hallway, which is semi-private and semi-public, is a problem. We'll find out how to do this, okay? All right, now let's get back. That was the whirlwind tour of this book, okay? We didn't even scratch the surface, okay? I'm not expecting you guys to remember anything. Yeah, what do you want to say, Yoshua?
There's a couple of them that are listed. Who's the author for that one?
Okay. You guys should get this. Let me just put the book up here so you can see it. It's called Write This Down. Okay, you really should get this. And Shira, you probably don't have to buy this. I know you're poor. Go to any friend who speaks English. I guarantee you they have the book. If you go to 3 friends and you didn't get the book, change friends. Okay, the 39 Avos Malacha. That's it. You got the book, Yoshua.
Okay.
Of Shabbos. Okay. Now, Shmuel and Yael, it exists in English and in Spanish. Also happens to be in French and Russian and Hebrew. Okay. Your English is great. If your Spanish is better, get the Spanish one. But you're going to need this book. Okay. Go down to the bookstores downtown. We are going to use this book so much. And I'm going to tell you something, you're all going to see this book and you've seen it. It looks like a little kiddie book. I have had PhD people who built massive bridges in Hungary, who are engineers, doctors, lawyers, who, when they got this book in the mail, I got an angry call. I'm not a child. I'm a PhD or whatever it is. Like, just wait. By the end of us learning Shabbos, every single one of those highfalutin educated people said to me that they never had a course in university, in PhD or whatever it was, where there was more information in any book than it was in this little kiddie book, okay? This is not a kiddie book, okay? And by the way, don't think you're wasting the money, you're just using it for this course. You will look at this thing probably every Shabbos for like the pages are worn out. Okay, you'll teach your kids through it. You're going to be looking it up. You're going to be arguing back and forth about things and looking it up in here and understanding is it Deraisa, is it Durabanan? And then when you find out when it's a Durabanan, you're going to be looking for the leniencies, what you can do and how you can handle it. This is possibly, other than a Chumash, possibly the most important book you will own in your life. Okay? Get it in the language you're going to most like. So for you guys from Brazil, if Spanish is better than English, get the Spanish, okay? Look it up on the internet. All right, fine. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to take a picture when we finish. Oh, she just went off 1 second. Yeah, my phone only lasts to an hour. Just a second. Let's get her back. We lost her. as soon as the class is over, don't let me hang up until I'm going to take a picture of the thing and I'll mail it to you on email, okay? It looks like something you bought for your 3-year-old who's of low intelligence, okay? Basically. So, anyway. All right, here we go. All right. That's the 39 malachas. But how do we define the word malacha? You thought we already did it. Creative activity. Not really. It's more than that. The real word is melechet machashavet. What does that mean? Malacha does not mean work in the sense that we use the word today in work. Malacha is not the same as avodah, which does mean hard physical work. That's avodah. There are small, easily performed activities that are full-fledged malachas, such as building the circuit by flipping a switch. This would be a malacha d'oraisa and have you thrown off a building. But yet, you could be carrying a couch 25 flights up on your back, sweating out and having 3 hernias on the way up there. You didn't break any malacha. Okay? Not even d'Rabbanan. Okay, so when going through the requirements of a malacha, whether it's being d'oraisa or d'Rabbanan, a Torah prohibition or a d'Rabbanan, rabbinic one, you first, please, if anybody doesn't memorize those terms, you gotta memorize the terms. We're gonna be using them from now on. I'm not gonna translate them from now on. So, if you have a question, ask me. But like, d'oraisa is Aramaic for a Torah prohibition. Torah meaning from the Chumash, okay? And in Shabbos, it means it's punishable by the death sentence. Versus a d'Rabbanan is a rabbinic prohibition. That's not optional. It's asur. It's prohibited. In fact, there is a Torah prohibition to go against the words of the rabbis, okay? But it is a different category, and we'll find out why, okay? When going through the requirements of malacha being either d'oraisa or d'Rabbanan, you first need to know why you need these distinctions. Why do I need to know whether it's d'Rabbanan or d'oraisa? It's just asur. Leave me alone. Rabbi, just tell me what to do and what not to do. Just, end it. If you don't know the distinctions and just think that everything's asur, you're not going to be able to understand why the rabbis permitted in certain situations and asur in other situations. The halacha would unfortunately become for you a haphazard group of laws with no logic. You become crippled, completely crippled, from understanding and appreciating the sanctity of the d'oraisa, and would come to view the rabbinical leniencies as downgrading the entire halachic system. You need to know when the rabbis said there was no rabbinic prohibition there. It's not that we're skirting around it, it's that there's no prohibition there. But if you think of everything as d'oraisa, you won't know that. And it'll all seem completely haphazard. So yes, you need to know what's d'oraisa and what's d'Rabbanan. It is extremely important. You need to know when a rabbinic fence was made in order to understand why the same fence is sometimes never erected by the rabbis, while at the same time knowing the comparative severity of not being able to override the d'oraisa. That was a mouthful, but let's start going over this. In order to be over a malacha and deserve the death sentence, you have to have performed one of the acts of the 39 acts that is called a maleches machashavos. The full definition is a creative and thought-out activity on Shabbos. Hashem created the world in 6 days and ceased from these creative, thought-out activities on the 7th day. We are commanded to cease from thought-out creative activity on Shabbos. Obviously, Hashem has no body, nor does he have any of the limitations of the body, and therefore he needed no rest and didn't do any physical activity. We're not remembering Hashem's vacation day, but the higher meaning of Hashem's resting is something way beyond the scope of this course. But the Sforno is an Italian medieval commentary on the Torah, enlightens us as to what is the meaning of the commandment for us to rest.
When we cease from all creative activity, we stop paying attention to our needs in this world. Whatever was finished before Shabbos started was finished. Whatever not, so not. The day of rest from creative activities becomes a time to reflect upon something outside the physical world. Therefore, not being involved in the daily routine, we are enabled to and should spend the day immersed in studying and teaching Hashem's Torah and contemplating His mitzvahs. It's not a day to sit in bed and drink beer. This is why the Shabbos is likened to a little like the world to come. We are not focused on the mundane, creative activities, but rather on that which is not physically creative, i.e., what's spiritual. In order for something to be considered a dioraisa, remember Torah commandment, malechet malchus Shabbos, a number of conditions have to be fulfilled. If it doesn't get to all of these things, then it's possibly prohibited d'Rabbanan, and possibly not. Depends on the situation. Before going through the following list of requirements, which would make an act a malechet malchus Shabbos, versus either rabbinically prohibited or in certain cases just fine, go have fun, right? We must understand there are distinctions of d'oraisa and d'Rabbanan, and permissible and not always we must understand that these distinctions of d'oraisa and d'Rabbanan, and also sometimes permissible, are not always simply defined. What I mean by this is the following list of prerequisites for an act becoming categorized as d'oraisa should be looked at as prerequisites for the possibility of an act being deemed d'oraisa. But sometimes, or maybe better put, many times, an act which at first glance could fit into the category of a d'oraisa, because of the following rules that we have, somewhere along the list of what makes it a malechet malchus Shabbos, it falls out. And it therefore becomes either only d'Rabbanan or permitted. This is such an important point that needs to be said again. Keep this in your mind while going through the following list. The following list of prerequisites for an act becoming categories as d'oraisa should be looked at as prerequisites for the possibility and only possibility of an act becoming d'oraisa. But sometimes, or many times, an act which at first glance fits into the category d'oraisa because of some of the rules might fall out of the category d'oraisa because of one of the side reasons. When we finish this list, we'll review this last statement again, and then we'll give examples to understand the implications. Okay, so let's take a look. Opening up the picture book again. For those of you who are going to go buy the book, which is all of you, or rent it and get it from somebody, in the beginning, these pages, page 10, 11, and 12. Eat the pages. Chew them, put them in your brain, plaster them on your wall, okay, because you won't understand anything in the book unless you understand page 10, 11, and 12 extremely well. They are simple cartoony things that when people read the book, they're kind of like, that was meaningless. Next. It's exceedingly important. Okay, category 1, for something to be a creative, thought-out activity, we're going to pick on the word thought out, okay? Let's call it intention. Category 1, intention. The act has to be performed with intention. If there is no intention to do a malacha, for example, someone's leaning up against a light switch by mistake. That's called mitasek, patur. In other words, nothing happened. He didn't do a malacha. Yes, he did. The light switch went on. No, he did not. There was no thought involved. There was no thought involved, therefore, no punishment. Not only not by the Sanhedrin, not by Hashem either. Oh, you're careless? You don't cover your light switches? You realize you're the type of person who scratches your back against the corner where all the light switches are? And so you're a blithering idiot. You don't cover your lights? Okay, so when you've done it once and you realize there's a problem and now you're lazy, so now when the problem happens the next week, so now Hashem will get you on it. I mean, it's a different thing altogether, okay? Set yourself up for technical success, okay? Yeah, I'm here. I'm just trying to think. What is written here? But now let's say it's not that the person leaned up against the wall, didn't know there was a light switch there, and wasn't thinking at all. Let's deal with another thing. Let's say it's a pre-coffee moment. We've all had them, right? Okay, and you get up in the morning, the coffee has not yet come into your bloodstream, and you turn on the light because you don't know what day it is. You don't know your name is. You know what I mean? You know, yeah, and so you turn the lights on. Because you did not know that it was Shabbos. Yeah, but you could have. That was called careless. Is that a thought-out act? Are we going to throw you off the roof for this one? No. You didn't intend. That's not like witnesses saying, hey, buddy, you know it's Shabbos, you know where the witness is, you're going to do it? Yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. No. It's not. That's not what's going on over here. The guy isn't intentionally doing a thought-out creative activity.
Just being careless.
So it's not a dioraisa. But it's prohibited. It's prohibited so much that when is the Beis Hamikdash, he owes a korban. He has to bring a sacrifice. Why? This one was preventable. You did the act. You physically did the malacha. But you didn't have the thought. It's therefore called shogeg. Shogeg, which is unintentional, is still prohibited. But since it's unintentional, we can't say, well, don't do it. Don't do it. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm unconscious with the coffee. Okay, you know, so, but you're going to be bringing a korban because you should have set yourself up for technical success. You know, if you realize that before coffee, you're like a psychopath, so like, you know, tie your hands to the wall until somebody pours the coffee down your throat. I mean, you know, set yourself up for technical success. Do something about it. Cover the light switches. You know, on the thing that, you know, on the coffee machine, you know, write the word Shabbos. You know, do something about it. Okay? You didn't do something about it, buddy. You own a korban. Why? Because you have to say you're sorry to the Rabbanu Shalom. You got to fix it. You didn't avail it. We're not killing you for it because it wasn't a thought-out creative activity, but it was a creative activity. Okay, so that's a different aspect of what do you call it? Of this of intention. Let's go on again. Now let's deal with some words that we all have to know. Asr. I'd like you to write these down. A-S-S-U-R. Asr. Or asur. Okay, whichever. It means not permitted. Patur. P-A-T-U-R. It means you're not liable for a punishment, but it is still prohibited. Okay? Shogeg. S-H-O-G-E-G. This means a mistake. By the laws of Shabbos, if it is unintentional, then a person would not be liable for the death sentence, but you bring a korban. Okay, a korban, okay, in the halachic terminology with Shabbos, is only when the person did it intentional. If the person broke Shabbos purposely, they have no rights to bring a korban. Hashem will not accept the korban. In fact, bringing the korban is a prohibition because it's not allowed. You don't get such an easy let-off light for purposely breaking Shabbos. You only get a korban, which will give you kapara, like Yom Kippur, right? If you made a mistake. You did it purposely, it's a death sentence. You didn't have the witnesses? and it wasn't the perfect situation, so you did merit a death sentence. So now you have to deal with Hashem when you die, and it ain't going to be so fun. Okay, next one. Misasek. M-I-S-A-S-E-K. I'll do that again. It's a weird word. M-I-S-A-S-E-K. Not a very common word, okay? Only used in the laws of Shabbos. It's an act with less intention than a shogeg, okay? Less intention than a I made a mistake, right? Shogeg, the person knew that they were doing an act, but forgot that it was Shabbos. Mitasek, the person has no awareness at all of what's going on. They leaned up by accident against light switch. Okay, all right. That's the end of our vocabulary. We're going back now to the different types, the different rules that make something a Melechet Machashovet. Okay. The next level of an act being intentional is dealt with by the terminology of, and this is a real interesting word here, psik resha. Okay, that's P-S-I-K space R-E-I-S-H-A. Psik resha. This is not Hebrew. This is Aramaic. This term literally means the cutting off of the head. To understand this terminology, you need to have some background information. On Shabbos, it's usher to kill an animal in order to use it or any of its byproducts if you have no intention to kill a chicken, let's say. But when you remove its head to say, give it to your little boy to play with, I know that sounds crazy for you people who are born in the city. I'm from down on the farm. The best toy you could ever give your son is a chicken head. Stick your finger up, down the throat, in the tongue, and the eyes go out. Yeah, it's fantastic. No, none of these electric games are anything compared to a chicken head. Okay, so the Talmud brings up this situation of a father who wants his screaming child to shut up. And he speaks to the rabbis, tells him, like, well, I don't want the chicken to die. I just want to give my child the head of the chicken. And the rabbi's like, don't cough, if you take the head off, psik resha, the cutting off the head, the chicken's going to die. Yeah. It's an absolute necessary result. If I have no intention to break Shabbos, I have no intention to kill the poor little chicken, buddy, you know that this act that you're doing will result in this, not 90% of the time, not 95% of the time. It's a necessary outcome. That's called that you intentionally did the act. And you get thrown off the roof. Okay? So you can't claim that just because I had a side intention that I didn't know what this thing is, if it's a necessary outcome. Okay? Now you may say, well, when does this really happen? Let's deal with this for a minute. It depends. We have to have two more rules to understand a psik resha, the cutting off of the head. If, let's say the chicken costs $25 alive. It makes eggs. It's a nice alarm clock, okay? When you kill it, it's worth $15 between the meat and the feathers for the pillow. You are losing money. Not only that, I'm planning on Shabbos. I'm not even gonna shech the thing. I'm just chopping its head off. The meat's gonna become dog food. The chicken went from $25 to 50 cents. Okay, so I'm at a loss here. Am I gaining something by doing this malacha? Did I get a benefit from doing the malacha? Nah. So that's called psik resha v'lo nichale. You don't have to know the full terminology. It means a definite outcome where I got no benefit from it. Well, that would be prohibited d'Rabbanan. Why? Think about it. What's a melechet machshavit? A creative, thought-out activity. Well, it's thought out. Is it creative? Did I benefit from this? No.
Well,
so therefore, what?
You could benefit from it if you're giving it to your animal.
But it was worth more before.
Okay.
I could have given the animal.
So it would cancel out.
I'm losing by the act. I'm losing by the act. So therefore, since I'm losing by the act, not called, I got a benefit from it.
Okay.
And therefore, I can't call it a creative thought-out activity. It's a thought-out activity, but it's not creative. But it certainly looks like the d'oraisa. Right, but it isn't the d'oraisa. It's only d'Rabbanan. But if I need, let's say I say, you know what? I'm going to cut the head off. I'm going to be intelligent. I'll cut the head off in a way where it's also going to be kosher. And, you know, I need that meat. I'm starving, okay? You know, so yeah, okay. So then, all of a sudden, it's psikration for nichale. It's a definite outcome, necessary outcome, and I get a benefit from it. Now it's d'oraisa. Okay, so let's give you examples that happen in real life. Okay, any of you who were raised in cities, I feel sorry for you. Anyway, but so anyway, so let's say you have to walk across the field. There's high grass out there. We're not talking about mowed grass. We're talking about like nature. No sidewalks. So if you're walking across the field, you know that as you, let's forget walk, run. You're going to run across the field. Your legs are going back and forth very quickly. They're going to act like a machete to the grass. You know that every single time your foot swings back and forth, you're going to cut off a couple blades of grass. I mean, you're swinging, so it's going to happen. It's a for sure necessary outcome. You eating the grass? You feeding it to your animals? Getting any benefit here from the grass that's cut? No. So it's a psikration of the lo nichale. It's a necessary outcome that I get no benefit from. I don't have to lose anything. I get no benefit from it. So it's prohibited d'Rabbanan. But let's say, so now I got everybody scared. Oh my gosh, I can't walk. What did people do before sidewalks? They had hovercrafts in the Middle Ages? I mean, like, what did they do? Okay, so now the answer is we have to get this, we have to pull it. It's in the d'Rabbanan. 1 second. Yes.
Don't set up any meetings for next week yet, because 2 different rabbis told me there's going to be an asifat horim, but they don't yet know which day.
I'll set up the appointments and I'll tell them to possibly cancel them.
Fine, can I just go get the other phone?
Get the other phone. So, we're now looking at a psikration v'lo nichale. Wait a second, let's let her finish this call so we can can you tell them you're going to go upstairs?
Hi, Yaakov. Can you call me back
yeah,
in
wait,
5 minutes?
Wait, is that Yaakov? We have to find out.
Wait, yeah?
We need to find out about the bus. Tell him I'm going to call him
My husband says he will call you when?
in about 35 minutes.
In about 35 minutes. That means between 34 and a half and 35.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. I have to go to Basin with somebody tomorrow. We're finishing the whole thing and we've got to figure out which bus. Okay. So now, we know now that running across this field, I'm not getting a benefit. They're not throwing me off the roof because of this thing. Okay? But I'm not allowed to do it. It's rabbinically prohibited because I'm still doing the malacha, but it's not a malacha machshavit because I'm not getting benefit from it. But it's still prohibited. Okay? So stop walking. No. You can walk through that field. How? Well, we got rid of the benefit. So there's no creative, right? And now I have to get rid of the thought out, the intentional. In other words, I have to get rid of the psik ratio. I have to get rid of the definite outcome. Well, how are you going to do that? Hover? No. When I run through a field, I know every step I take, my swinging foot is going to pull out or rip grass. When I lift my foot up and then gently put it down, lift up and put down. If I'm in very high grass, I can carefully do this. Now I know any of you who've done this are going to say, yeah, but when you get to the other end of the 100-meter field, for you in America, it's 100 yards. Okay, so for woefully ignorant America, it's unbelievable. They don't teach this. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so if you get to the end of the 100-meter field, you know that there's always going to be one or two pieces of grass on your shoe. And you say, see, we know it's going to happen. You missed the definition of psik ratio. Psik ratio, cutting off the head, means every single time that I do this action, it absolutely is a necessary outcome. That means every single time I lift my foot up, I'm definitely going to be pulling out grass? No. Right. Even if I'm going to, in the course of 100 steps in the field, for sure, statistically, I'm going to pull out grass every time. So, are you pulling out grass every single action, every single step?
Yeah.
In the same way that when you run, every single machete cut of your foot is definitely going to be pulling out grass? Well, the answer is here, when you walk slowly and a little bit carefully. No, you don't have to get anal retentive. Oh, they have a different word for that today. Excessive compulsive. You don't have to get excessive compulsive. It doesn't have to take you 3 hours to cross the 100-meter field. Don't go crazy on me over here, okay? You're being somewhat careful. You're lifting your foot up. You're putting it down. You're not
being mindful.
Running. What?
You're being mindful.
Watchful. The mindful of it. That's it. Okay. Now. Let's see. Okay. We're going now. We just finished intention. We're talking now about what makes something a melechet machshavot. We had different parts of intention. We had mit asek versus kavana, like knowing what you're doing, right? And we also have this thing about psik ratio. Okay. We're now moving on to a different thing altogether. To determine whether an act in question is being done for the purpose that it was done in the Mishkan. Once this is not being done for a similar reason, for example, I'm trapping the bee. Are you making a fur coat out of the bee? You're having dinner? Bee soup? No. So you're not catching it to use the body of the thing you caught. It's not deraisa. It's not a melechet machshavot. It's aser derabbanan, but it's not a melechet machshavot. So to determine whether an act is being done for the purpose that it was done in the Mishkan, this is called tzricha legufa. T-Z-R-I-C-H space L-G-U-F-A. Tzricha, needed, legufa, for its own body. Meaning that the act was done for the same reason, or similar enough reasoning as is used for what was done in the Mishkan. If it was done for that purpose, that it was done in the Mishkan, then it's called a melechet machshavot and it's aser deraisa. If it was not performed for the purpose that was done in the building of the Mishkan, then it's called malacha she'eino tzricha legufa, a malacha which is not necessary for the reason that was done in the Mishkan, and the act is not needed and on its own, but rather for some other purpose, and might very well be prohibited derabbanan. Or maybe they're going to say, in certain situations, not prohibited at all. You have to see. Okay? Let's take an example. This beautiful picture here. I love this picture. Sorry, Shira. You still there, Shira? Hello? Oh, we lost her. Second. Shmuel still there? Oh, you were there. Okay, fine. Okay.
Yeah, Rabbi, I'm here. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
Thank
Let's
you.
look at this picture. Sorry, sure you can't see it, but there's a picture. One guy's digging a hole, and next to him is a plant that he's going to put into the hole. The next guy is digging the same hole, but he's got a bag to collect the dirt. There's no plant. Let's think. In the Mishkan, we had to plant things that were going to make the dyes. So if I'm digging a hole, I am doing ground preparation, that's malacha number 1, for the purpose of planting, malacha number 2. But if I'm digging the hole because I need the dirt for something, I'll explain that in a minute. But I don't want a hole here. It's like, who wants a hole, right? And I'm not going to, then, is this ground preparation? And therefore it's only prohibited to Rabbanan. What are they talking about? Who wants a hole? What's this dirt thing? Okay, sorry for you people who were born in the modern world. Okay, 3 of my 4 grandparents were born without electricity or water. Okay, so let's go back to Grandpa. One of them did not have a wooden floor either. Plain dirt floor. So in plain dirt floor, which was the norm until approximately 100 years ago, 150, were there rich people who had stone floors and stuff? Yes. Your standard average person did not have even a wood floor. Okay? Yes, you've seen George Washington's house. That's right. He was George Washington. Most people had dirt floor. So now, in the Talmud, which is dealing with most of world history, people who lived with a dirt floor, let's say something spills, gets sticky. Let's say you're moving your chairs, you create a hole. People want their home to be basically flat. So they have, in every home, there was a bag of dirt for fixing up the floor. So people would dig to get dirt, to have the bag of dirt that was in every single home. Is that digging the purpose of ground preparation for the Mishkan? No. So the same guy in the same clothes with the same shovel in the same spot digging a hole, one to put a tree in and one to get the dirt for the bag in the middle of the living room. One of them is doing an Isser D'Oraisa. One of them is doing an Isser D'Rabbanan, because it's not for the same reason that was done in the Mishkan. Okay? Eino tzuricha legufa, not necessary for the reasoning of what was done in the Mishkan. It's not a creative activity of preparing ground, okay? Which is the first malacha. The first malacha might be defined as plowing, but we redefine it broader to understand a creative activity of ground preparation. This is not ground preparation. This is getting a bag of dirt. Okay, fine. But is it going to be permissible? Absolutely not. Why? Because the Rabbanan say, you see 2 people doing the exact same act with the same tool. If I'm going to allow this guy to do this, then everybody's going to end up doing this, and there goes the whole show. Okay? So, you're going to end up having people breaking d'oraisas. Therefore, the rabbi said, fence, put the fence up. Okay? All right. Now, we brought up another example of this when we went through the quick list in the book. Erasing. If I'm erasing because I made a mistake, I said yes on the test instead of no. So I get rid of the yes, so I can write no. That's deraisa. But if I am ripping through my potato chip bag to get to the potato chips, and I rip through the picture of the potato chip, which destroyed the meaningful image, am I doing that to redraw a picture of potato chips? No. So, is it a melechet machashavet, and am I getting thrown off the roof for this? No. Is it permitted? No. Why? Because I did an act of erasing.
Right.
Okay? By ripping through the picture. It's aser d'Rabbanan, because again, it's eina tzarich l'kufa. Not the same, is not done for the purpose that it was done in the Mishkan. Okay.
Actually, wouldn't that be two separate prohibitions? Number one, tearing and erasing.
You would be correct, except that we haven't gotten to the full definition of tearing. Tearing is in order to get something which is going to be creative. Like, for example, I need a piece of material just so what's a certain size. But here I'm just ripping through to open it. You're correct. The action looks like tearing, but doesn't fit deraisa under it because it's not being done to any specific type of size. Here, actually, because of that particular thing, is not even d'Rabbanan. Why? Because the act doesn't look like that type. Let's say, for example, I have potato chips.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-advertising, it's a black bag. There's nothing. Doesn't say anything on the bag. Nothing. Okay? So, is ripping the bag open to destruction a concept of ripping? No, because it doesn't look like the person is doing the concept of ripping, which was neatly getting something into a size that they wanted to use. Therefore, it doesn't look like the guy with the shovel getting the dirt. This looks like a different act. Okay?
Okay.
All right, fine. Okay. Next requirement for something to be considered a melechet machashavas. This is extremely important. You've got to really pay attention here because this is the most necessary one for you guys to know. When I say necessary, we're all stuck with difficult situations in Shabbos. And there are times when we need to do something that would be a malacha. And what we need to do is we say, first things first. Let's get it out of the deraisa and into a d'Rabbanan. Great, you're going to break a d'Rabbanan? No. But I can't breathe in the deraisa category. There are windows and doorways that the rabbis left open in certain rabbinic commandments so that you might be able to find a permissibility. You're not going to find a single permissibility in a deraisa unless it's a life and death situation. So you need to be able to first say, okay, I need to do X first. Let's make X a d'Rabbanan act. Then I'll start going with my brain and think, before I'm going to do this, is there any rabbinic leniency? Okay, so fine. I'm not saying do the act. First of all, I'm thinking, how would I do the act that is not done the normal way? For example, take a look at this picture. So, okay, Shira, what we're saying here is the malacha that we're talking about is hotza'ah, taking a. By the way, all of you guys on these pages 10, 11, and 12, they pick on one malacha at a time.
Okay.
But no, these malachas deal with all 39. They're just taking one easily rememberable, easily. I don't know my English anymore. Rememberable. Picture. So, you know that you can't take from private to public. We went over that, right? So, if you're going to take an apple from your yard to the street, carry it in your hand. That would be the normal way. Well, that guy is going to get thrown off the roof, okay? But let's say, it's an old lady on the street, and she's kind of, starving. She can't make it into the house. She says, Sonny, can you get me something to eat? I feel like I'm going to faint. Okay, so now we're in a life and death situation. I can grab her an apple. I could call an ambulance. I could do anything, right? And I say, honey, how do you feel? She says, I'm okay. I need something to eat. I got a little diabetes. In the next couple of minutes, I need something. But you're not like counting the seconds, okay? So now you don't have to break Shabbos to your Raisa. I'm going to get that apple from my refrigerator to her mouth in a strange way. If it's strange, then I haven't broken a Shabbos D'Oraisa. I've broken it Zerabanan. And the rabbis made no prohibitions when a person's health is in danger. So by pulling it into the D'Orabanan, I pulled it into permissible. Because whenever a person's health is in danger, whereas a D'Oraisa, if their life is, really failing, that you'd be allowed to do it. On the D'Orabanan, we don't have to go that far. I got any small danger, there's no rabbinic prohibitions. So all I have to do is make the act slightly different, just not D'Oraisa, and the old lady can get the apple, and I haven't broken Shabbos. And you say, Bob, but I can do it anyway. If you could, and this is a very important statement, if you could have done the same act by only breaking a D'Orabanan prohibition, and you choose to break a D'Oraisa, you're liable for breaking Shabbos. So you have to know which one I could. Now, with this being said, do not become holier than thou. If someone's life is in danger, don't waste a second. A lady is sitting on the bench and she's fine, but she doesn't have strength to walk home and she could use something that'll help her. Like here, that's not the same thing as, bleeding emergencies. Okay, so what's the second picture? The guys take, what? Yeah, life and death, just break the D'Oraisa, call the ambulance, nothing to talk about, okay? All right, so now, the guy takes the apple from his yard, puts it on his foot, and starts hopping out of his yard. He transferred from private to public in a not normal way, making it only D'Orabanan. Now let's take a Shira's example here. Life and death. How life and death? Let's say a wife is giving birth on Shabbos. And let's say she says, honey, it's Friday night, Shabbos just started, and she says, yeah, it's today. And so, your wife, she's given birth 15 times already, right? And so, it takes her a good 5-6 hours to give birth. This is not going to come out like, in 2 seconds here. So, do you need to get to the hospital? Well, don't ask my wife because we've given birth to 5 of the 8 of them at home. But okay, we're not going to go there. But let's say you're of the opinion you need to go to the hospital. Okay, so do we need to call an ambulance? Yeah. Does it need to be now? I mean, is there a difference between now and 30 seconds from now? No, there's not a difference between now and an hour from now. So, in other words, if you were to call in a way that would take 30 seconds longer, nobody's being endangered, right? You're not allowed to call in a normal way. Rather, pick up your glasses, take the, what do you call it? The thing, what do you call this part? The handle?
Yeah, the I guess the arms, I don't know.
The arm glasses, okay? And push the buttons on your phone with that. Because that's... Oh, that's yours. Okay. I don't have... My cell phone is from the 1800s. Okay. So then...
You can do it with your toes.
You have to find some different way. Maybe put your finger backwards or use a different finger. Let's say you never use your pinky. Do something in a slightly different manner. If it's slightly different, it's not D'Oraisa. And I'm allowed to go to the hospital here on Shabbos, you're fine. But your neighbor is bleeding, gushing blood, you're a murderer. if you do it in a different way and you're wasting time.
Okay.
If the time is necessary, don't waste it. If the time is unnecessary, so then do it in a different way. Okay? Never endanger somebody, even in a small doubt of endangering somebody. Okay? Okay. Okay. I think here. Okay, there's another reason to know why an act was performed is either D'oraisa or D'Rabbanan. If you say that something is prohibited by the Torah when it's only prohibited D'Rabbanan, you're actually over a Torah prohibition. Why? The Torah says there's an Isser, a prohibition of Baal Tosif. You don't have to write the terminology down. It means adding to the words of the Torah. Or, if something was D'oraisa and you said it's D'Rabbanan, you're also over a Torah prohibition of Baal Tigra, taking words away from the Torah. If you don't know if it's D'Rabbanan or D'oraisa, but you know it's prohibited, just say it's prohibited. Don't make things up and say it's D'oraisa or D'Rabbanan, because you have now a doubt of whether you're breaking an Issur D'oraisa, or of not adding or subtracting from the words of the Torah. And when in doubt, leave the detail out. Okay? I'm going to give you one story, and then I got to get off. Let's go to the Midrash. What really happened in the Garden of Eden? The Midrash tells us what's behind the words. Hashem said, don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now, Adam then had Eve, Chava, created after the commandment was given. And he sees this lady is touchy-feely. She touches everything, okay? And he said, if she touches this thing, she can come to eat it. And she's going to die. So he said, you know what I'm going to do? She wasn't here at the time of the commandment. I'm going to tell her, you're not allowed to touch it. Because if you touch it, you'll die, right? So now, the serpent says, oh, okay. He says, and we're not going to go into what his reasonings were. Anybody wants to know privately, sometime I'll tell you. It's a long midrash, okay? But the serpent has a reason for making her flub up. He pushes her into the tree. She touches the tree. And then he goes and says, did you die? And she says, no. He says, right. And if you eat from it, you're not going to die either. Thing is, she's supposed to live 1,000 years. She died within the day, okay? Within 1,000 years. What Adam made a mistake is, had he told her, you know what, Eve? You are a touchy person. We're not allowed to eat from this thing. I am the husband over here. I am making a prohibition. We're putting a fence around this tree. You're not allowed to get near it. Because I don't want you to touch it. I don't want you to come to eat it. That's fine. That's a rabbinic prohibition. But he didn't say that. And so when she was over the rabbinic prohibition, thinking it was D'oraisa and didn't die, then she said, oh, the whole thing is nothing. That's the problem about Tosif. Don't add to words of the Torah. Don't take away from words of the Torah. You need to know whether something is D'oraisa or D'Rabbanan. Don't open your mouth and say something's one or the other until you know what the heck you're talking about. I have to get off. Okay, guys, remind me that I'm on page 22, the second paragraph, beginning with the two words, rabbinical fences. In fact, that's Yehoshua's assignment. Remind me, page 22, second paragraph. The paragraph begins with the words rabbinical fences.
Okay.
Okay? Guys, get the book. Okay? Shmuel, you can get it in any of the English bookstores downtown in Mea Shearim. Okay? Get it. Okay? Write down the thing. I'm going to take a picture of it and send it to Shira right now. Okay. Take care, guys. Hopefully next week we're at the same time. A lot going on.
Okay.
I gotta
Thank you, bye.
take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.